For years, Jackie Christie carried herself like the kind of wife reality TV loves to parade in front of the cameras, loyal to the bone, sharp-tongued when she needed to be, and fiercely protective of her man. Through the endless gossip cycles, the whispered stories from sources, and the blogs that always seemed to find an angle, she stood her ground beside Doug Christie. When the streets started murmuring about his loyalty, she would cut the noise down in an instant. If a blog dared to run a headline with his name and the word affair in it, she'd hit them with threats, pull favors with producers, or drown the conversation in a bigger, shinier story. Publicly, she was all smiles, sitting front row at his appearances, her hand resting on his arm. Privately, she was a human shield, keeping her family's image clean while quietly bleeding from the cuts that never made it into the press. But one thing about trust, when it shatters, it doesn't politely warn you. It explodes. The explosion came the day Jackie saw that clip. A video so raw, so unfiltered, so impossible to spin that even her years of experience couldn't save it. There they were. Doug, Christie, and Malaysia Pargo in what was unmistakably a hotel suite. It wasn't a group hangout. It wasn't a friendly dinner. The footage captured them close, touching, intimate, in a way that left zero room for the benefit of the doubt. The kind of footage that didn't need captions or context because the picture told the entire story. It wasn't just cheating. To Jackie, it was a declaration of war. And this wasn't from a nameless stranger or a random opportunist. This was Malaysia, a woman she had hugged, defended on reunion couches, brought into her circle, trusted in spaces that were never meant for outsiders. That betrayal burned differently. It was personal, surgical, cutting straight through every layer of loyalty Jackie had built her marriage on. She didn't cry. She didn't curl up on the couch with wine and sad music. Jackie felt something hotter. Rage. The kind that doesn't whisper. It roars. The kind that doesn't fade overnight. It builds. And it carried her right into the most infamous night of her life. It was supposed to be a glittering evening, a high-profile fashion event, the kind where champagne flows endlessly and camera flashes make the air feel electric. Jackie arrived, in a sleek black gown that seemed to wrap her like armor. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as if announcing her presence before she even turned the corner. The crowd was thick with celebrities, influencers, and the very people who thrive on gossip yet act shocked when it happens in front of them. And then there she was, Malaysia Pargo, draped in a silver dress that shimmered under the lights, smiling like nothing in the world could touch her. That smile was the match. Without a single warning, Jackie picked up the wine glass in front of her. Red liquid caught the light midair as the glass cut across the room. It smashed against Malaysia's cheek in a spray of liquid and glass. Gasps turned into screams. People pulled out their phones. The event stopped dead. Security moved, but not fast enough. Jackie was already lunging, her hands in Malaysia's hair, her voice spitting fire with every breath. Dresses tore in the scramble. Someone's heel snapped. A table went over. The entire venue felt like it was holding its breath and gasping at the same time. "You slept with my husband and smiled in my face!" Jackie roared, her voice cutting over the chaos. "You think I won't burn this whole industry down?" Blood trickled from a cut on Malaysia's temple, as security finally managed to pull them apart. But Jackie was far from done. Even as the police pushed through the crowd, her body strained forward, her eyes locked on her target like she was ready to take on the entire building if it meant getting one more hit in. Within minutes, Jackie was in handcuffs. Cameras caught every step as she was walked out, chin high, fury still etched into her face. Even cuffed, she looked untouchable, a woman wronged, a woman unafraid to go down swinging. By the time she was booked, the footage had already gone viral. Instagram stories looped it, Twitter had a dozen angles, TMZ ran the headline, Jackie, Christie erupts, wine glass assault at fashion event, hashtags exploded, Chakers Jackie strikes back, Chark red carpet revenge, Chap Malaysia mess. And the internet did what it does best, split into two warring camps. Team Jackie called it loyalty on fire, praising her for not letting betrayal slide. They posted clips of her most savage reunion moments alongside the wine glass throw, calling it her final form. Others condemned her instantly, calling it domestic violence, reckless, unprofessional. The debate was so heated that even people who didn't watch the show found themselves weighing in. Meanwhile, Malaysia's team moved fast. Statements hit inboxes claiming the attack was unprovoked and excessive, that she was seeking medical attention and exploring legal options. Photos started circulating. Malaysia backstage, a paramedic dabbing at her cheek, her dress ripped at the strap, her face bruised. Jackie spent the night in a holding cell, pacing the concrete floor. She didn't sleep. She didn't cry. She whispered one word over and over: Malaysia. When she was released on bail the next morning, there was no mugshot in circulation. Her lawyer had made sure of that. But there was a statement. Jackie. Christie is a victim of emotional sabotage and public humiliation. She was pushed past her breaking point by calculated betrayal. She will cooperate fully with the investigation while also seeking accountability for the events that led to this incident. The phrasing was deliberate. It painted her not as the aggressor, but as the woman finally snapping after being emotionally cornered. And that narrative hit deep with her fan base. To them, this wasn't senseless violence. This was justice with sharp edges. But Malaysia wasn't staying silent either. Less than 24 hours after Jackie's release, she posted to her Instagram grid a black square with white text: I choose peace. I am hurt, but I will not respond with hate. The comments flooded with support from her followers, but also with questions she didn't answer. Then came the twist. 2 days later, screenshots surfaced on gossip blogs, messages from Doug Christie to Malaysia. One line stood out like a siren. It meant nothing. You know I love my wife. The leak flipped the conversation. Suddenly, Malaysia didn't just look like the other woman. She looked like the woman who had been discarded, publicly humiliated, and dismissed like she was nothing. Sympathy shifted. The internet loves a villain, and Doug had just volunteered for the role. In the middle of all this, Doug Christie said nothing. No interviews, no statements, no captions, just silence. And that silence, it was deafening. By now, every gossip outlet had its own theory. Some said Malaysia leaked the tape herself for relevance. Others swore it was a producer pulling strings for ratings. But there was one whisper growing louder, that the entire thing had been engineered behind the scenes, a setup. If that was true, then Jackie's breakdown wasn't just personal, it was orchestrated. And in reality TV, an engineered breakdown is the kind of story that can ruin reputations permanently. Jackie wasn't about to let that happen quietly, not when there was still so much more to reveal. The morning after the red carpet chaos downtown, Los Angeles felt like the set of a live-action soap opera. News vans idled outside the courthouse before the sun even rose. Camera crews set up along the steps, their lenses trained on the double doors where the city's most talked-about feud would play out. Inside, the atmosphere was tense enough to cut with a knife. Jackie Christie arrived first, stepping out of a black SUV in a tailored crimson power suit that could have doubled as battle armor. The color wasn't a coincidence. She knew exactly how it would photograph. Her chin was high, her walk measured, her eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses that didn't soften her presence in the slightest. Behind her trailed her legal team, 2 sharp-suited attorneys, and a young assistant carrying a thick case file like it contained the nuclear codes. Minutes later, Malaysia Pargo appeared. Her face was mostly covered by large designer shades, but a careful observer could spot the faint swelling under her makeup, the trace of a healing cut near her hairline. She wore a cream-colored dress. That suggested serenity, though her posture betrayed tension. Her lawyers flanked her like security detail, one hand occasionally touching her elbow to guide her through the crush of reporters shouting her name. And then came the man in the middle of it all, Doug Christie. He walked in alone, no legal representation visible, no wife, no ally. Just a man carrying the weight of 2 women's destruction, 1,000 rumors, and a scandal big enough to erase a decade of public respect. Even the judge paused briefly when he entered, as if silently acknowledging the storm he had dragged into this courtroom. The session began with the formal reading of charges: misdemeanor assault, possible felony enhancement due to bodily harm, and pending civil claims for emotional distress. But it wasn't the dry legal language that made the room shift. It was the evidence. Jackie's attorney stepped forward with a USB drive and a deliberate smirk. On the courtroom screens appeared a recovered audio file, one that had been deleted from Malaysia's phone but pulled from a backup. In it, Malaysia laughed with someone who sounded suspiciously like a production staffer. Her voice dripped with amusement as she said, "If Jackie finds out, she'll go nuclear. And I want her to." Gasps rippled through the room. Even Malaysia's own lawyer stiffened. Across the aisle, Jackie sat utterly still, her hands folded in her lap, her lips curling in the faintest shadow of a smile. Then came the second blow. A screen recording from Doug's private folder, allegedly obtained through a subpoena. It showed messages between him and another woman entirely. Not Malaysia, not Jackie. A third player. The messages left little doubt. Doug hadn't just crossed one line. He'd drawn a whole map of betrayals. Chaos erupted. Reporters scribbled furiously. Someone in the gallery muttered, "Unbelievable," loud enough to draw a warning from the bailiff. Malaysia's head turned sharply toward Doug, shock flashing across her features. Whatever else she thought she knew, this was news to her. Then in the middle of it all, Doug Christie stood. His voice was low at first, but the quiet room carried it to every corner. "I messed up," he said. "Not just with Malaysia, not just with Jackie. I've been lying for years. I thought I could keep it all going. I was wrong." No one clapped. No one offered sympathy. The confession didn't feel redemptive. It felt like confirmation of the worst assumptions people had been holding in their chests since the tape leaked. Jackie's attorney requested a recess. Outside in the corridor, cameras swarmed. Most people expected Jackie to duck her head, ignore questions, or let her lawyer speak. Instead, she stopped in front of the microphones, pulled off her sunglasses, and delivered a statement that set the internet on fire. "You can't steal what was already rotting. Malaysia didn't destroy my marriage, Doug did, but I let it rot. That's on me." The line was brutal in its honesty, and it ricocheted across every gossip page within minutes. For the first time, Jackie wasn't just the enraged wife. She was the woman acknowledging her own role in letting the cracks go unattended. It made her more human, and ironically, more dangerous in the court of public opinion. Back inside, the afternoon session brought the next twist. Jackie's legal team unveiled a prenup clause buried deep in her marriage contract, one that stated in clear terms, "Any extramarital affair resulting in public embarrassment or financial loss will trigger immediate forfeiture of shared assets by the offending party." The words hit like a bomb. If enforced, Doug stood to lose nearly everything he had built with Jackie: homes, investments, even his stake in certain joint ventures. He tried to object, his voice cracking, but the judge silenced him with a sharp gavel tap. The day might have ended there, but Malaysia's attorney wasn't finished. She stood, her client's hand clutched tight in hers, and said they had a final statement to make before the next hearing. The judge gave a slow nod. Malaysia's voice was shaky at first. "I never meant to fall for Doug. I was vulnerable, and he knew that. But I didn't leak the tape. I didn't want to hurt Jackie. I just wanted to matter to someone." Her eyes welled, but she didn't break. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a white envelope. Every eye in the courtroom followed it as she laid it on the bench before the judge. "This is a DNA test for my unborn child," she said. The air seemed to vanish from the room. "Doug Christie," she continued, "is the father." For a moment, time froze. Jackie's pen slipped from her hand and clattered onto the table. Doug's knees bent as if the ground had tilted beneath him, and Malaysia, though her voice wavered, locked eyes with Jackie and whispered across the space between them, "I didn't plan this, but you deserve the truth, and this is mine." The wide judge immediately called for a closed hearing. Media and public were escorted out, but the damage was already done. Outside, as the courthouse emptied, reporters began shouting to their crews. By the time Jackie reached her car, TMZ had already blasted the headline, "Malaysia Pargo pregnant." Doug Christie confirmed father after courtroom shock. Within an hour, Jackie collapse was trending. Helicopters hovered over her gated community. Paparazzi camped outside her driveway. Social media spun theories at light speed. Was this the final straw or the start of a darker chapter? But no one saw Jackie. Not for 3 days. For 72 hours, Jackie Christie vanished from the public eye. In a city where scandal ages faster than milk, those 3 days felt like 3 months. Every blogger, gossip vlogger, and morning show panel speculated where she was and what her next move might be. Some swore they had insider intel, that she'd flown to another country to escape the chaos. Others claimed she was holed up in a luxury suite downtown, planning her revenge with a team of PR assassins. But the truth was quieter and sharper. Jackie wasn't hiding in shame. She was calculating. She understood something most people in a scandal never learn. The right silence is louder than any speech. She was letting the headlines fight each other, letting the noise swirl until the exact moment she could step back into the center, on her terms. When she finally reappeared, it was on a Sunday night. No red carpet, no paparazzi alert. Just a simple Instagram Live notification. Jackie Christie is going live. Within minutes, tens of thousands flooded in. She appeared on screen in all black. Not the sleek, tailored black of a red carpet villain, but the deep, unforgiving black of mourning. No makeup, no lashes, no perfectly laid edges. The lighting was raw, showing every shadow and angle of her face. But her eyes, those hadn't dimmed. He gave her a child, she said, her voice steady. While I was fighting to save a marriage, he was building a legacy with someone else. And y'all think I'm the crazy one? Nah, I'm done. The comment section went wild. Heart emojis, flame emojis, all caps declarations of support. But Jackie wasn't here for applause. She reached down, lifted a crisp stack of papers into view, and held them there until every viewer recognized what they were. These, she said, are divorce papers. It's over, for real. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She didn't give the meltdown people had been salivating for. Instead, she delivered something colder, sharper, closure. Let the world have Doug. Let Malaysia raise her child in peace. I'm choosing me. From now on, I don't bleed for anyone who wouldn't bleed for me. She ended the live without a goodbye, without a smirk, without even letting the comment flood sway her. The screen went black, leaving the world to replay her words in their heads. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Celebrities reposted it on their stories. Influencers dissected every sentence like it was a rap verse. The hashtags shifted. Jackie Strikes Back was replaced by Talk Jackie Walks Away, and Fachumarka Crown Unshaken. The next. Morning Malaysia Pargo posted her own statement, but hers was softer. A warm-toned image of a sonogram, captioned simply, "New beginnings. No shame. Just truth." She didn't address Jackie by name, didn't drag Doug, didn't engage in defense. It was the kind of move that split public opinion. Some saw it as grace, others saw it as deflection. Meanwhile, Doug Christie decided it was time to tell his side. He booked himself on The Breakfast Club, expecting to charm his way through the conversation. But the moment the interview hit YouTube, the backlash was instant. The comments section turned into a firing squad. Too late for your truth, Doug. You humiliated 2 women and now you want sympathy? Nobody's buying this redemption tour. The numbers told the story. Sponsorship deals disappeared overnight. His podcast, once a steady income stream, was canceled after advertisers pulled out. Public appearances were slashed from schedules. Even former NBA teammates began quietly unfollowing him, with one tweeting, "Doug used to be the guy we all respected. Now he's just a cautionary tale." While Doug scrambled, Jackie moved with precision. Within weeks, she had secured a $2 million memoir deal. The title alone went viral, Built from Broken, The Jackie Christie Story. The promise? A raw account of love, lies, and how to rise again when the world tries to bury you. Pre-orders skyrocketed before the first chapter was even written. Malaysia wasn't idle either. Her team landed her a lucrative 6-figure partnership with a parenting brand focused on single mothers. Publicly, she leaned into her new identity. Peaceful, private, preparing for motherhood. Her posts became minimal, healthy meals, prenatal check-ins, inspirational quotes. Whether it was genuine healing or just good PR, the audience couldn't decide. But they watched. The defining moment of Jackie's comeback came at a women's empowerment gala she hosted herself. It was her first major public event since the pregnancy reveal in court, and she made a deliberate choice. She wore the same red suit she had walked into court with, now perfectly tailored and spotless, like a battle flag returned from war. When she stepped onto the stage, the room erupted. She waited, letting the applause crest and settle, before speaking. "I learned something," she said, scanning the crowd. "Pain reveals truth. And truth, it's never pretty, but it will set you free. And freedom, real freedom, is knowing when to walk away and when to rebuild." She didn't cry. She didn't name names. But every person in that room knew exactly who and what she was talking about. Doug, by then, had retreated entirely from the public stage. Paparazzi caught him weeks later checking into a private rehab facility. The official word was emotional trauma and treatment for addictive behaviors. Unofficially, insiders said he was broke, blacklisted, and sleeping in a rented condo paid for by a cousin. A source close to him told a gossip blog, "He's lost everything. His wife, his money, his respect. But maybe that's what he needed to grow." Whether he grows or not is irrelevant to Jackie now. She's done bleeding for him. She's walking lighter, sharper, untouchable. Malaysia moves forward too, not with the man she once thought would choose her, but with the new life growing inside her. A future forever tied to Doug, but no longer defined by him. She posts sparingly, choosing calm over chaos, her captions short but loaded with implication. Peace is power. 2 women. 2 paths. 1 man burned to ashes in between. What began as a scandal ended as a reckoning. And if there's one lesson the world took from watching it unfold, it's this. Don't betray a woman who stood by you through storms. Because when she learns the truth, she doesn't just leave, she rebuilds. Now the question remains, is this truly the end, or just the calm before another storm? In the world of loyalty, betrayal, and public redemption, nothing stays quiet. Forever. Cameras keep rolling, gossip keeps breathing. And the truth? The truth always finds a mic.